Hold on to your hand grenades, folks. Get ready for one atomic bomb of a bitch session. You're watching the Peter G Show.
Peter G Show.
Hey everybody, I'm Peter G. How you doing? I feel good. It's a good day out. I woke up. Listen, if you're watching this show, then congratulations. You're alive. You've made it. That's a great start regardless of where you're at in your life. It's a great start. Again, perfect example. Yesterday, I walk out of a store, and they got these people that hang out at the stores. There's some kind of organization, and they're always out there with the can. It's collecting money, donations. Half the time, it's like, dude, cry me a river, you know what I mean? Because we all got problems, and I get it. And once in a while, on the holidays and certain organizations, but for some reason, I don't feel too good about this one because they're all over the place, constantly in your face, constantly. But yesterday, I walk out of the store, and there's a guy, and he's holding that, and he's in his little white uniform, and he's got no legs. It's like, son of a bitch, he got me. What am I supposed to do? I can't top that. You know what I mean? I can't top it. It's like, okay, here you go. So, again, my point being, your life probably isn't as bad as you think it is. Anyway, but I like to bitch about stuff. That's what I do. I think it's entertaining. I think it's resourceful. I think there's some stories and some knowledge base behind my bitching. I just like to do it. Instead of just telling you something, I do it in the form of bitching. It's kind of like interpretive dance, only different. Modern interpretation. It's good to let it out, okay? So, again, that's what I do. That's why you're watching this show. Okay. Plus, it's good to bitch because it's good to see the positive end of it. And today is another special day. I think all my days are special. But I think I got something really good for you guys. I'm bringing in a guy in a few minutes who is a truckload of positive. Yeah, we're probably not going to bitch that much, but I'm going to try to throw some in there because I like to do it. He's just the total opposite. He's about the positive. But there's the catch. Even though he's pulled himself out of the fiery ruins that divorce puts you in, we're going to ask him not to tell us so much about all that positive and what he's doing now. I want to hear about what he was before and the how and the why and how he overcame everything from the repercussions from the whole deal. The struggles of divorce and single parenting. Like I said, it's easy once you're, back on your feet, but I don't think he tells that story very much because I've done some studying up. So that's what we're going to do today. I think it's going to be a really great show. I encourage you to pay attention because, again, we are helping the helpless. That's right, folks. That's my way of doing things. Helping people that need somebody to lean on, somebody to say, yeah, okay, the world's full of problems. Mine might not be so bad. Here on the Peter G Show. So what do you say we get this party started and open up the phones and talk to my special guest? On the phone, I have Mr. Bob Paff. Bob, are you here?
I'm here.
Great. Thank you for being on. Before we even start talking about you, I want to run down a couple of things and just let me know if I'm correct on them because they put together a few of your attributes and I just want to make sure I have them correct, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. You live in Baltimore, Maryland, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You've been the voice of National Geographic?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. You've had a radio show, Communicating to Win on CBS, correct?
That's correct.
Even more awesome. You've done segments on Fox News Network with your local Baltimore station, Good Day Baltimore?
That is correct as well.
I'm on a roll here. Okay. This is a good. You've appeared on Steve Harvey.
I have appeared on the Steve Harvey show.
You
That's
son of a gun.
correct.
Okay, nice. Okay, so now this part I know. You're a motivational speaker, and kudos to you. How many time author?
So my first book is out, and I'm working on 2 more. But as far as published, this is my first.
Okay, but I see that it's a bestseller on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is. I'm sharing space with Dale Carnegie, so how good is that? Yeah.
That's real good. Okay, so kudos to you, Bob, and forgive me. I know I'm leaving a ton of things out because your list was really, really long. But however, the most important question to me is, and this is where we're going to get to you, is the reasons on this show today is you're divorced, correct?
I'm twice divorced, so let's clarify that. I'm twice divorced.
Even the plot thickens. Okay. How many kids do you have, Bob?
6.
How many from one marriage? How many from another?
4 from my first marriage and 2 from my second marriage.
Okay, here's the big question. Have you been to hell and back, Bob?
Several times.
Was it a good trip?
Yeah, and I didn't even pause. I just went right through.
Wow. Okay.
Fell out, and there I was.
Okay, so you're the guy I've been waiting to speak to then, because this is what we do here. I know you have a lot of great stuff going on in your life right now, but I was hoping you'd be kind enough to open up to my 3 to 3 million, whatever the numbers are, and tell them, because here's what I caught with you, because I did a little research on you, and I found a saying that I say myself, and it's, you're not alone. It's not just you. And that we share in common, I think. And that's why I try to tell with these people that, looking at you, it's like you seem very nicely established now, but I don't think it was probably all that way, correct?
It was not all that way at all, and it's the old adage, judging a book by its cover, Peter, which I'm happy to get into, but you are correct.
Okay, so then, if you don't mind, can we step back in time? Because,
Absolutely.
I think it's a really big deal to, I just talked about, just because I think my life is bad, there's always worse, and I know you're, pro at that. So would you share some of the grief, I mean, the pain, and how you overcame it? I mean, 2 marriages, I don't know if I barely made it through one.
Well, I'll try to be brief because I think you and I could probably do a series. But life was first of all, I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore. I grew up in a racially diverse community. I went to racially diverse schools, Catholic schools. So my faith has gotten me through the worst times of my life. I was an altar boy. Life was fine up until I was about 10 years old.
Right.
And then I discovered my father's affair with my mother's best friend. And so the bottom really started to fall out. Little did I know, now looking back, I see it all, and it all makes sense to me, really at that point. And so I became the child of a broken home. I was in foster care by the time I was 16 years old.
Of course.
My parents divorced, and I had my parents are both deceased. I had a lot of power in that relationship that I didn't realize, and really too much for a 10-year-old. I saw my father for what he was, broke my mother's heart. My mother begged to let him come back. I refused. She asked me to let him come back, and then I acquiesced. And that really put me on and there's a point to that story that I'll get into as it related to my marriages. And I didn't realize it at the time, you see, what that did to me. I thought I came out of it unscathed. Had a brother that was 4 years older, went on a very self-destructive path. He's since deceased at age 54.
Wow.
Of liver cancer. So he basically alcoholed and drugged himself to death as a result of that. My father passed in 1991, came back into my life, not our lives, in my life. When he was down and out, I took care of him, got him set up on food stamps and welfare and did all those things for him. He was homeless for a time, Peter. My dad worked in a factory, lost that job, drove a taxi cab, became homeless, drifted out of our lives, and then came back into my life while I was married, had 4 children. My dad, I got a phone call late one night, and they said, we have your father here. We're going to discharge him to a shelter for the homeless, and he wanted us to call you.
Yeah. What do you do? It's your
Thanks,
father.
Dad.
It's your father. I mean, no matter how bad, right. I get it.
You do what's right, and it's interesting because my friend said to me, and I'll watch my language on your show, but my friend said, you don't owe him anything. You could say, go F yourself or whatever it is. And I said, you know what? selfishly, I don't want to be looking back as a 50-year-old man, a man of faith, and saying and knowing I did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So no, we're going to close this chapter as it should be. And my dad and I had mended our fences. I would visit him in his nursing home, and he would say, "I'm sorry I ruined your life." And I said, "Dad, you didn't ruin my life. It's okay. I did not want him going to his grave, which he was about to very soon,
Right.
With that conscience. It just wasn't fair. I was 38, 39 years old when all this was going on. So anyway, my dad passed. We move on. I'm married to a woman that I had known since we were 16 years old. We were the best of friends. We were like brother and sister.
Right.
And I thought solid as a rock. She had come from a broken home. So did I. We were friends, because you hear that, are you friends, or before we became lovers and all the other stuff? And we were.
Right.
Got married. I thought we were so solid. Fast forward, we got the 4 kids. I'm working in banking. She's a stay-at-home mom. Life's good. We got the Suburban, summers at the pool, this whole stuff. And I'm coming home from work one day, and I called her up and I said, "Honey, I'm coming home." And she said, "Did you see the letter?" And I said, "What letter?" "Oh, I wrote you a letter and I put it in your briefcase." Well, Peter, I couldn't get to the letter fast enough, because I thought, here's a woman, how much she loved me.
Right.
I was the guy that brought flowers home on a Tuesday just because it was a Tuesday. After 10 years of marriage or whatever, because I love this woman so much.
Right.
It was a confession. It was a confession that she was having an affair with one of my neighbors.
Oh, boy.
Who had 3 kids. So I had 4, he had 3. I was also the president of the community association. So I was the president of the community of 200 homes. Everyone knew me. Everyone knew us.
Right.
And when his wife called and said, "We need to talk," then the lid blew off of everything, and all the other details and so forth. That was crushing to me, as it would be to anyone, really, male or female, who's been cheated on.
Sure.
My oldest son, who was 13 years old at the time, he's now 31, developed suicidal ideations. Thought he needed to kill himself. That was his way out, and wound up in a mental hospital in Baltimore.
See, this is,
and then
this is, hang on one second, because this is the thing. This is where I really, because I want to, before I forget to ask you this question, because I always say, okay, divorce, you got divorced. I don't, the issue of why doesn't matter, but you said something to me that stuck in my head. It said that your parents, you're a product of divorce, and you said it did something to you. What did it do to you, before I forget this question, and then we'll be gone and it'll be haunting me?
Well, what it did to me is it really sort of locked me into what is clinically known as a rescue fantasy. I developed a rescue fantasy. I rescued my mother from her marriage. I've always been very intuitive.
Okay.
And so I had it. My dad wasn't a good guy, and you can, as you know, you can love people, but you don't have to like them. And so I'd love for your listeners, you can love them, but you don't have to like them. And I didn't really like my dad. I was very close to my mom, and so I developed a rescue fantasy. So what I didn't realize, Peter, is I was searching for women who I thought, in fairness to them, needed to be rescued, needed me to fix them, needed me to save them, all of those things.
But do you do it because you're just that guy? I mean, I'm the kind of guy that I feel good when I'm doing something good for somebody that I love.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Very much so. That's a great thing. It's an admirable thing. But here's the difference, and here's where I would debate with you. You can do that with people who are open and willing. You see, they have to do their work before we can do the work collectively. And I was in a relationship with 2 folks who were in denial of whatever the abuses and their issues were, and you can't fix somebody without their permission, so to speak. You can't collaborate with somebody without there are 2 people in a marriage.
Yeah, I don't want to fix anybody.
Right?
But collaborating. Right. You're collaborating. You're married. You're supposed to collaborate.
That's exactly. Listen, I told people, I've been single now for 7 years. My second wife is on her 3rd husband.
Yeah.
She took her 3rd husband a month after our divorce.
Shocking. Many stories like that. And she's a beautiful, highly educated physician. So this is not a woman who was living over top of a bar in an apartment and needed a man to take care of her by any stretch of the imagination. Right.
This is a woman, in my humbled and educated opinion, can't be alone, either with herself or just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, when I say that, people can't be alone with their thoughts.
Right.
Who am I when I have to look in the mirror? It's all those things. Right. So, yeah.
Okay. So where did Bob go from? Sorry, I'm speaking in third party, but I mean, where was your low point? Because it's all about now. All this crap's going on in your head. It has to affect you to where you're spiraling. Unless you're stronger than anybody I've met so far.
Well, I like to think I'm pretty strong, but let me tell you what happened, because then probably too quickly, not as quickly as my second wife, but I jumped into that marriage. But one of the things that I did, which was critical, is, you see, my faith had always been sort of my foundation. Now, I'll say that, and I'm going to say something to you that may maybe shock you, and I don't think it's probably anything that you've dug up about me. And your listeners are going to be maybe a little bit shocked when I say it. I was, at the age of 16, there was a Catholic priest who attempted, and I say attempted, he had his hands on me to molest me in a hotel room in New York.
Wonderful.
And I say that to you because my faith is still in the foundation for me to this day. So I don't blame.
You can't blame your faith for a human. Okay, I
can't, and that's exactly right, Peter. Because I'll get people say, "Oh, everybody has problems." Politicians, Caesar. This kind of stuff has been going on forever. So right. I'm not gonna demonstratize, the Catholic Church for this. But anyway, the point of that is, I would drop my kids off, and I found myself in the first pew of church every morning, getting me through. Like, God, why is this happening? Why is it happening twice?
Right.
I had to witness it with my father and my mother, and now here I am thinking, if you read Good Housekeeping, the definition of a good husband, I really thought, this might sound self-indulgent, but I thought my picture was next to that article. Cooked, cleaned, did the dishes, honey, you go out, I'll take care of 4 kids, did everything that a man is told that he's supposed to be doing, and yet still this happened to me. So I needed answers. I needed to figure out why this was happening to me. So I held on to that, and it was tough, man, because I was dragged through the mud, and I was this, and I was that. She hooked up with this guy, and here I am with 4 kids, 4, 6, 12, and 13, by the way, week on, week off, taking care of them by myself.
How were your kids doing?
Well, the oldest was dealing with depression and the suicide and was hospitalized. And the 2 little ones who were 4 and 6, a boy and a girl, were so young that they really didn't know what was going on. Interesting, though, great question. The 12-year-old, who's a boy, who's now 30, said at the family meeting, "Mom, I like you, or I love you, but I don't like you, and I don't want to live with you. I'm living with Dad." And that kind of blew everybody, because he's, to this day, the glue that really keeps all of them together, all 6 of them, honestly. And he got out. He said, and the therapist said, this kid sees it for what it is, and didn't want any parts of it, and has a relationship with his mom, to this day, but has told me, I don't respect her, I don't this, I don't that, whatever. So, he came to live with me from the age of 12, and now he's 30 years old.
Wow. Because, again, children, this is why I'm going to focus more on how you kept your act together again, because of your kids, and that's the only reason why I'm here on this show. I keep seeing.
No, and I did. I could not let them see. Peter, kids model behavior. I mean, I didn't have. People said to me, when you read about me and you read all the stuff, that, wow, who were your role models? I didn't have any. If I had to pick a role model, I guess it must have been God, because there was nobody else really in my life who was a good guy, who was consistent, who was there for me, and so forth. And so I didn't have one. But you're right, kids model behavior. And so I remember a conversation with a psychiatrist, and I said, what is it about me that I'm going to get through this? And he said, Bob, for most people, when this kind of thing happens, it's like falling off of a rock. It's hard. It's whatever. For you, it was like falling off of a mountain. Why? My father had done it. I swore I was never going to be the kind of father that my father was, and I wasn't.
Good.
I wasn't. I was a devoted father. He was not. And so for me, it was really devastating. But this is interesting what this man said. He said, you're going to get through this because of your character, your integrity, everything else. You're going to will yourself through this if you have to. And, I had the dark moments. Now, I don't have a history of drugs or violence or abuses or whatever in my life. I don't have any of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have that. Sorry. I don't have any of those things. No. But, so it was really my faith getting me through, but, bounced back, entered into, I was divorced the first time in 1998. The beginning of 1999, and wound up getting married again the end of 1999.
Holy crap.
We had been dating. Yeah, well, we had started dating mid-1998 when my separation occurred.
Right.
And so if you want to look at it that way,
Yeah,
I
kind
tell
of.
myself, Peter, because it makes it doesn't sound so bad when I put it this way. It was about a year and a half out that I remarried way too soon.
Okay.
Way too soon in retrospect. I mean, I have two wonderful kids that I'm extremely close to who are 14 and 16 years old that I'm blessed to have, and I wouldn't have had, without that marriage. But
Right.
It was too soon.
Okay.
And again, I married a woman, in my opinion, who had lots of issues, lots of family of origin issues, and I was going to fix them. I was going to love her more than any other man, her first husband, her stepfather, her this or that or whatever, had done. And it doesn't work. And in 2010, I ended that marriage.
Question for you.
Yeah.
When you're going through all this stuff, did you have people close to you to unload on, or did you just get through it on your own? Because to me, again, if I don't unload, and I'm very blessed in many ways for the people who have had to listen to me, because I would have exploded. Who did you have? Or did you?
Yeah, very few. One of the things that's disappointing, you certainly do find out who your friends are, but it's very disappointing. And not that I expect people to take sides. I'm a very black and white guy when it comes to things like that. So if you're going through something, I'm going to be there. I'm that kind of friend. I'm that kind of father. I'm just that kind of guy. And to me, it's not a matter of taking sides. So I'm a very sort of right, wrong, kind of a guy. People go away. And so I had a friend whose wife had been on my board when I was the president of the association, and they had gone through a divorce. And he reached out to me, and we were not really friends. We were acquaintances prior to that. And he said to me something that I'll never forget, and I've used it since. Divorce is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you need to have your go-to people. In my talks, I talk about who's on your team.
Right.
Who are your go-to people? And so you do. And I would call Bill, and he was a really important guy, and he'd be in a meeting, and he'd step out of the meeting and listen to me blabber for an hour. Oh, you're not going to believe what she did today, or you're not going to believe the letter I got from a lawyer, right?
Yes.
And so Bill became my person. I've also been blessed, too, that I have a lot of lawyer friends and a lot of, whatnot. So I learned a lot of things. I learned that a nasty letter from a lawyer is just that, a nasty letter from a lawyer.
Yeah.
Throw it in the trash can, throw it away, nothing happens until you get into court. So there were some very life-altering lessons. Oh, don't get me started on that profession. God bless them. But
that's another conversation.
Even my friends... Yeah, my friends who are in that profession, we joke about it all the time. But anyway, so I, when the second marriage ended, the second marriage ending was really sort of a critical thing. Again, I ended it. She's a physician, so we didn't have a lot to split up, this and that. Everybody was kind of independent. But I had, within a period of, I would say 18 months, my brother died of cancer. A month shy of his 55th birthday, my marriage ended, and my business partner decided he was going to steal from me while I was on vacation and took basically half of the firm.
Right.
And so I got back to a situation of financial devastation, emotional, marital, all this, and trying to hold all that stuff together was really challenging. I did not want to go back into that business, so reinvented myself as of 2010. The book came out in 2015. I've done other things. Cards. I play a congressman. It wasn't on your long list. It's probably there somewhere, but I play a congressman in season 2 of House of Cards. I play a New York congressman. So right. I reinvented myself, kind of went back into my career and did all these things. But really my world has been rocked. I mean, last year was probably the most difficult and challenging year that I've gone through.
Why?
Well, a couple of years ago, I moved out of the family home. My income was at one time was healthy and all this stuff and
take
not.
A number.
And so it was the lowest, right? It was the lowest point of earnings in my entire life.
Uh-huh.
It was really a test of who are my friends.
Okay.
Who can I count on? And so, in many ways, I mean, some of the things that happened to me last year just sort of defied logic and really challenged me to, my faith was really put to a test last year. And I'll confess to you, I'm all about whatever works.
Okay.
So if it's alternative therapies, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I went to college for the first 2 years, wanted to be a psychologist, so I'm all about that. I work with a Japanese Reiki master here in Washington, D.C., that I credit with really changing my life in many ways.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Many ways.
Well, here's what I want to do, because we just did over 20 minutes of, what I like to do, bitch about stuff, open up, tell where the wounds came from, how it all started. I got about 5 minutes. Now let's talk about Bob Paff, the winner, the book, How You're Positive. Just give me 5 minutes of now how, all of a sudden we're fast forwarding today. How, what are you doing now that's just working so good for you? Because apparently there's things going on.
It's been incredible, and we'll do it in the 5 minutes, and I know exactly where I'm going to go with this. So, what's working for me now is cutting the negative people, the negativity, the toxic energy, all that stuff out of my life, and finding what matters to me, and really living a true and authentic life. And that means not worrying about what anybody thinks. And really, I told you I've got 6 kids, and so there have been times when one's not talking to me or the other, whatever. Right. And I don't mean to make this sound harsh, and it may. You cannot worry about what other people think, and those people can be your family. You have got to be true to yourself. And what's gotten me through, that's what you're asking me here, what's gotten me through is that devotion, that dedication, that tenacity, that authenticity, and that integrity. I mean, that's gotten me through. And the big bow around that whole thing is my faith. There are weeks that I'm in church every single day. And so I kind of smile when people, you've heard it, I'm spiritual, but I'm not real religious. Well, I don't know. The lines kind of blur for me. I don't have crosses all over my house. So what does that mean? I'm not religious, yet I'm spiritual, but I go to church most days. Yeah. So that's gotten me through. Well. You can't give up. I mean, life's going to kick the out of you, and you just got to hang in there. But I think foundationally and fundamentally, Peter, is the knowledge that, are you a good person? You see, I can look in the mirror every day, despite the hardships, and say, I'm a good guy. I'm devoted, I'm loving, I'm loyal, all those things, and I deserve better. I've earned better. This is going to work out. So I think the antidote is to really, and hanging in there. And listen, I write the platitudes, but I also hate the platitudes. I mean, you can't just tell people, put on your big girl pants or put your boots on and suck it up or whatever. You've got to have tools. I read a lot, but I tend to read the Gandhis and the Khalil Gibrans and the Chopras and people like that. Right. The Don Miguel Ruiz who wrote the 4 Agreements. I tend to read things about life and spirituality. And because the struggle is, where do you find it? Where do I find the pieces and the tools to get me through? Benjamin Franklin said the only way out is through. Where do I get what I need? And it's different for everyone, Peter. Yes. Where do I get what I need to get through? For some people, it's drugs and alcohol and abuses, right? And
it's
all
a quick
those
fix.
Things. And it was never for me. It really was never for me. For whatever reason, there for the grace of God go I, but it was never for me.
It's not even a fix.
You got to find the tools.
I mean, it's a.
No, it's not. It's a Band-Aid.
Exactly. We talk about that a lot. But here's the thing: religion, real quick, because I had a boss once who was, you get in his car and it's got the, Christian music channel and he goes to church, but he was an asshole. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. And he was just, he was his intentions were good, but he was one of those guys that, like a football coach, but not a good one. He'd get in your face and he just tells you what he thinks. But he'd go to church to try to make up for it. And I couldn't understand that. I give you credit for trying, but something's not working. Or you got the church, the religious hypocrites. They show how much they go to church. I'm kind of quieter. I've been raised pretty religious. I'm Greek Orthodox, close to Catholic, whatever. But the thing is, I don't say a whole lot about it. But man, do I? If there's a meter up there that how much I'm thinking and praying and this and that. But I've cashed a lot of numbers in, but. Where do you, how do you fix, you can, I don't know. There's so many different aspects of religion and it's not a pissing contest of I'm more religious than you are, but it's got to help. I figure it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean? You got to have that in your life.
Well, and I agree with what you said about those guys, and that's my issues with the church in general. I don't think they're as loving and as giving as when they're judgmental. But here's what I do. I get out of it what I need.
Good.
And that might sound selfish, but
for you,
it's
no,
not, because
no.
You've got to do what works for you. I mean, sitting here right now as we speak is the book, The Mastery of Self. And The Mastery of Love talks about self-love, and you've got to be, because if you're not good for you, you're not good for anybody.
That is
and
true.
do you want other people picking up your pieces? No, of course you don't.
No, not at all.
So I know all the bullshit that goes on, and you're right. I call them out for it. I
Good.
really do. So I totally agree with you. And that guy is going there to make himself feel better. Because if he's being an asshole everywhere else in his life,
Yes.
then he's just going there to make amends for that behavior. I don't have amends to make up for. I'm not going there
Right.
for absolution.
Right.
I'm going there for support. I'm going there because I feel safe and it's quiet and I can think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, no.
Yeah.
I don't, you can call me what you want. Most people, it's like good or bad or an idiot or,
Right.
but I sleep at night because I know I do the best I can. And
Yeah.
I actually do care. My whole thing is about the kids. It's because I've just seen so many kids getting affected by divorce, products of, and this, and I can't walk into any room and not say something about what I do now, and where somebody starts saying, God, whether they were their parents broke up, or it's just ongoing, on and on and on. And I got a daughter that's growing up with this generation. I just want decent human beings.
That's right. Oh, no, Peter, and that's the essence of what I'm about. It's really what my message, one of the things that people, when they look at it, my book is not, and I tell people, find your message within my words. It's a transparent look at my life. It's not a how-to necessarily. So people, if they're looking for an instructional book, then
Right.
it's not. It's a story. It's a story.
Right.
And but really, it's living my life out loud to help other people. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't get a message from somebody around the world, because I've relied on social media. That's what drove that book to the bestseller list,
Right.
because it's there to help people. So the woman in India who called me and said, you gave me the courage and the faith to leave my marriage, because in India, marriages are arranged. That's why the divorce rate is less than 5%.
Right.
But this is a woman in an abusive relationship who said, you gave me the courage to leave. How can you not be moved by that? How can I not be humbled by that? I didn't do it. It was all there. You did whatever. So if I pushed you over the top, then fine.
But arranged marriages.
That's what
Never made sense to me. I don't get it, but whatever.
Oh, my God.
When you're brought up that way, you don't know any
right.
different, and that's the way it is.
You don't know any different. That's exactly right.
So we're going to wrap it up, but before we wrap it up, you can be seen. You have a website. What is it, bobpaff.com?
It's bobpaff.com. It's very easy. Yeah, just BOBPAFF.com is the easy way to find that. The book's on Amazon. Thank you. It's on Audible. I recorded it in my own voice. A lot of people like to download it.
Right.
Have it there to, it's like $6 or something. They can play it as much as they want.
Awesome.
It's really a guide, Peter. I would tell your listeners that you can go to chapter 10 because that's what's bothering you right now. So whether it's embrace your adversity or who's on your team or whatever it is, you can go to that chapter in the book and go back to that chapter. I encourage folks, obviously, to read the whole thing because I think the growth is in all of it. But you could really go to the part that that is touching you the most. I'm all over, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I'm viral. And
you are pretty active.
And also accessible. I'll let people know. I want your listeners to. I tell people all the time when I speak around the country, reach out to me. And I say to them, most of you won't. I guarantee you won't. I can be speaking to an audience of 1,000, and I'll say maybe one of you will reach out to me.
Sure.
I encourage people to dialogue with me because, I'm a simple guy. It's a great message, but I'm a simple messenger delivering it. That's how I look at it.
How do you find the time?
It's a great question, and I that's a struggle for me.
It's hard for me
to quiet my mind. Yeah, right. It is, and I've had to learn, Peter. It's been very hard, and I'm like I said, working with a Reiki therapist and doing these things to take time for me and not feel bad about it. I used to think for so long, I'm on a speakers bureau and I've got a speakers agent, and so I charge to speak. It's my life. This is my life. I don't have another job. But I felt for the longest time I needed to give it away. Like God gave this to me, and I need to, to whom much is given, much is expected. But I also have 6 kids, and I need to earn a living, and also need to be able to create more content and give things back to people. So, but finding the time for myself has been the challenge. But I'm getting a lot better. I really am, and it's been great, and I don't feel guilty about it.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, this is the part where I thank you very much for making this happen. You've from the recently when I met you, or we kind of got together a few months ago. You were very open to me right off the bat, and I appreciate that. And that's why we are here today. I'm West Coast, you're East Coast. You're all over the map, though. I can see again. Bob Paff, Communicating to Win in Life, Love, and Business on Amazon. Great book if you have the time, or Audible, correct? You can just listen to it in the car.
Yes.
And Bob, I appreciate your time that you gave me, because again, it's when you're giving to me, we're giving to everybody else, and I'm all about trying to help a lot of people that just don't know where to go and what to do, and they're looking for answers. And in my own screwed up kind of way, I found that I kind of make sense once in a while.
Yep.
So.
And I tell people two things: pay it forward and always give more than you take. And so I kind of live by that. If you wanted to know what my life philosophy is, it's really that. It's very simple. So you and I are totally in alignment when it comes to that. And I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Well, good job. And we'll be in touch. I'm hoping the next time I get to do this with you, and I hope that there's a next time, but we'll be doing it face to face. This was a good start.
That would be fantastic.
I had to open this up, but I almost was going to get you and say let's do a Skype or a instant messenger, but I said, well, let's just get a good start going here. There's many more, because this is a weekly thing for me, so there's many more times that we can get together. It's just a matter of getting it done. But I appreciate your time today. I truly do. And again, we'll be in touch. But folks, again, Bob Paff at bobpaff.com, and his book on Amazon, which is doing very, very well. So maybe it's something you might want to pick up. You never know what you're going to get out of it. Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Peter. Take care.
All right, take care. Thank you. Well, there you have it. Bob Paff, a man. See, you know what I'm also finding out, talking to a lot of people? The second marriage usually ends up, well, not always, but the second marriage sometimes most of the time ends up being a little bit easier to deal with, because you've got experience from the first one. That's why I've only done one, and it was a doozy. And so, and back when I talked to Steve Lukather back in the past and the other people, and it's like you kind of learn from your mistakes. Hopefully you learn from your mistakes. Because if you don't learn from your mistakes, then you make more mistakes. I had a guy that I knew, he was married 4 times. And I looked at him, I said, how the hell? I would have shot myself by the second or third. But the 4th marriage, he's been married to this woman 25 years. They absolutely adore each other. I mean, I don't know if I'd have I don't know if I could do that, but he did, and his life is good. But, everybody's different. We all have different ways. Just like Bob said, he's not telling you how to do it. He's telling you what has happened to him, just like I tell you what has happened to me. You pick and choose. It's like being a musician. I learned how to play drums by listening to that drummer and that drummer and that drummer. And then I took those little pieces. I go, God, that's a cool lick, the way he played it. And a lot of people say, who's your favorite drummer? And I couldn't tell you. I have so many, but I'm the smorgasbord of those guys, and then you put your own soul into it and you become unique, and that's what you need. Good show today. I hope it did you some good. I thank all you people for tuning in, watching, and listening. Subscribe. It's not important. I find that there's way more people listening and watching, and you just don't subscribe. But it would make me feel good. If you want to do something for me, let me know you're there, please. It would just make me feel good. I see a lot of you people watching the show and listening. And congratulations. But I need you to let me know. I get a lot of people going, I want to be on your show. They send me emails. Tell me what you want to do on my show. Send me that email, but when you want to be on it, say, I got this, and tell me about it. I'll put you on the show. I need normal people too, the professionals, that are willing to get out there, such as myself, cool. But I love normal people, because we're all normal people. So anyway, thanks again, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. I'm telling you, people, this show is growing, and the bigger it gets, the more I get to do better stuff, which benefits you too, because I like entertainment. I love giving something that's going to help you, and a couple of laughs doesn't hurt either, because crying's not really where it's at, but you have to feel the pain in order to get where you're going to get. If you don't, you're never going to learn anything. I told my daughter, because she doesn't get in trouble very much. And once in a while, there was an issue I had over the holidays, Christmas, and something went down. And I kind of looked at it, I go, and I talked to her. I sat her down. I go, I'm not happy about what happened, but I'm glad you messed up. I said, because you hardly ever mess up, and you're never going to learn anything if you don't mess up. Take that, in the way you want it, but true. You touch your finger, you don't know what fire feels like, the hot stove, unless you burn your finger. And then I'll tell you, if you stick it down that hot stove again, you're a friggin' idiot. But I love you guys, and I thank you for watching the Peter G Show. So stay tuned next week. We got more great stuff coming up. I thank Bob Paff for coming on and giving me his time. You're watching the Peter G Show. Peace out. Love you guys.
Peter G Show.